What's up, and welcome back to the Indie Credible Podcast, Episode 2. This week we're taking you through a little quote that Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft, said earlier in the week. What platforms do we think support indie games the best? And then going through some general feedback that we've had from the community. With me, as always, or at least last week, is Dan. What's up, Dan?
I'm good, cheers. How you doing?
I'm good, very good.
Good, very good.
Very good.
Classics.
Before we jump into it, a little bit of housekeeping. If you do enjoy what we're doing, guys, the best thing you can do is subscribe to us on iTunes, leave a little review. That just means the absolute world. Also, if you're feeling a little bit flush and you're thinking, you know what, it's been a good month, good day at the races, jump over on Patreon, throw us a couple of quid. We'll give you treats. Not sexual treats, but we will give you treats.
Definitely not sexual treats.
No, definitely not. And on that segue, because I'm so good at those.
Segues.
Segues. Let's get into our first thing. Have you seen the interview that Phil Spencer had with The Guardian?
I'll be perfectly honest, I try and avoid Phil Spencer as much as I can.
Okay, so you're aware of the Xbox Game Pass?
Yes.
Xbox Game Pass, for those who don't know, is a subscription service coming to Xbox. It's going to be about £10 a month, and it's going to run similar to a Netflix. The big difference compared to PlayStation Now is the fact that PlayStation Now is streamed. The Xbox service allows you to download the game to your hard drive, so it won't be streamed, and you won't get the latency, you won't get the lag. So potentially could be a good service. Now, in his interview with The Guardian, Phil Spencer said, "I've looked into things like Netflix and HBO, where great content has been created because there's a subscription model." He goes on to say that we could put story-based games into the Xbox Game Pass business model because you have a subscription going on. It would mean that you wouldn't have to deliver the whole game in that 1 month. And he goes on to refer about the Telltale model, so how they release an episodic format. And he also hints at in there how it could be great for smaller indie companies to, rather than them having to push their game out to not die, because it may not, but to go into this big open world, that people are going to have more of a chance of, on the subscription service, of giving something a go, because they're paying for it already. So if you see a game on there that you've never heard of, you may feel more tempted to download it and give it a game, and then if you don't like it after an hour, get rid of it. There's another, I think they can have 100 games on there at a time. Basically, what I read from this was that, because Xbox, in my eyes, and we'll speak more on this later on, do not give the best support for indie titles.
No.
But this could be a way around it. I mean, what's your thought on this? On him saying that releasing games in an episodic format, we're not talking AAA games here, we're talking smaller games. What's your thought on that there?
Okay, I can see his point, and he's absolutely right. The whole Netflix model works in the fact that you do watch things you would never watch before, because you're paying, whatever it is, £6 a month, just to be able to go through stuff, and you watch a hell of a lot of crap. But in some ways, that's part of the problem. It's kind of like Steam Greenlight. It's great having a PC and being able to sit there going, look, I can play all these indie games. But unfortunately, because of that, 90% of it's shit.
Well, you
have to trawl through all of this lot. So part of what's really nice about the whole console gaming and indie game side is that they have to be a bit more... They have to be better created, better made. There's more time spent on them to get through the things in the way. But the other part of it is, do I really want episodic games? Telltale Games is quite nice.
I think it depends on the game. So I was thinking, we spoke last week about Blackwood Crossing, which is, and he, in the interview, throughout the interview with The Guardian, he goes on to emphasise that it is story-based games, story-driven games. That's a very story-driven game in Blackwood Crossing. Yeah. Now, that wouldn't have to be episodic, because that was a one-sitting game. So if you'd have come out and said that the standalone 3-hour games that people have a gripe paying 15 quid for are going to feature on it, I think that's a fucking brilliant idea. My concern the pros for it are the fact that at the moment, for an indie game gets published, it gets put out, the first month, 2 months maybe, that development team aren't making any money until the publishers make back the money that they put into that game. Yeah. They don't make money. So that, unless you've got a fluke, unless you've got a groundbreaking game, something like Stardew Valley, Shovel Knight, something that comes out of nowhere, and just goes boom, right, there we go, that's sold absolute Rocket League or something like that.
Yeah.
That's really unlikely. Really unlikely that's going to happen for an indie development team. So the benefit of this is, and he says in the same interview, that they won't have a publisher. They'll be earning from day one. But it won't. The difference is they will be earning it won't be a case of they're earning per download, because they don't pay for the downloads. Does that make sense?
they'll be earning a lot less if people. So for example, if an indie dev was to publish it, they would get, let's say for example Strafe, which I've been playing, which was £15 to download.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got to pay the publisher, and then they get their money.
They get their percentage now.
Yeah, that's £15 from one person, whereas £10 a month that has to be separated out between 100 titles.
The only way I could figure this could work really well is if they put an indie game on the Xbox Game Pass, but it's available on PS4, Switch, whatever else, and people start talking about it. People don't play it, but people play it on Xbox. A little bit like Rocket League. Rocket League had the cleverest marketing campaign ever. The reason that game was so successful, because the first month of its launch, they went, yeah, it's free on PlayStation. Everyone downloaded it. They went, I done it. If I'd have seen RC cars driving around the pitch playing football, I'd never have paid $15.99 for that game.
Yeah.
But I downloaded it and I sunk in probably not far off 60 hours into Rocket League because I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And they built that community from day one. And I wonder now if other indie game or indie developers are going to try and jump on that, not that bandwagon, because that's still available at PS Plus or Games with Gold, but with this Game Pass. Now, I think the Game Pass is a great idea. I'm going to jump on it, guaranteed. £10 a month, and I've got, I say unlimited, 100 games. I'm not going to play for 100 games in a month.
No.
And they're going to update it every couple of months. It's going to go on and off. They've come out and said that the games like your Halos, your Gears of War probably aren't going to feature on them. But do I want them on there? Probably not. The idea of this kind of subscription-based indie service, now it's not going to be just indie games, I actually quite like the sound of, and I think I'll go back and play a lot more games that I didn't play, and I'll play more games in the future that I wouldn't have played.
See, now, if it was an indie Game Pass... Now, that's something I would be interested in. I'd be like, oh, hang on.
Well, that's what thing of Xbox Live Arcade. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and how well did that do? It didn't.
Well, it did at first. It was groundbreaking at first. For the first couple of months, first couple of years, it was groundbreaking. And I think it was actually done really well. I just think Xbox from 2012, 2013 onwards, just their marketing was all over the shop. They released Kinect, which was the biggest pile of turd I've ever seen, and then the Xbox One, they just, we're going to get rid of Xbox Live Arcade. I really liked Xbox Live Arcade. I remember Xbox Live Arcade Days of Summer, I think it was called, and you'd have a new game every week or something in summer, and I thought it was bloody brilliant. Geometry Wars was one of my favourite games, and that debuted on Xbox Live Arcade. I wonder if this is their way of going, let's try and go back to that. I mean, there's no denying subscription services are the way it's going. Like Netflix is... I can't remember the last time I brought a DVD, because we go, let's see what's on Netflix. Rather than we used to go, let's go down Sainsbury's, let's go get a DVD, let's see what's out now. Stuff it, we just wait for it to come on Netflix.
As a business model, I think it's a great idea. I just there are two main things I worry about. One is the quality of the games you're going to get on there. 100 games, £10 a month. I really don't think it's going to make any money for the indie people. I think they're going to find out they're getting screwed. But also, the one thing that I truly hate about Xbox, and I bought the Xbox One first. I didn't get the PS4 first.
Yeah, you were...
I was there waiting. I think I bought it straight away. It wasn't day one because, sod that. It was like a week later I got my Xbox One. And it's the fact that it only has a 500 gig hard drive, which I've boosted up with a terabyte external hard drive on there. But it just eats up memory space.
You have to download every game.
You have to download every game. So him there going, oh yeah, it's not streaming, it's going to be better. Well, actually, you're just eating up more space.
It depends what games it is, because so I've been reviewing Lethal League this week on Xbox, and I downloaded that game. I think it's 1.8 gig. So that, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. 1.8. But it's other ones when I can't remember. Batman Arkham City, was that the most recent one?
Yes.
The third one?
Yeah.
I think that download on there, and that was 85 gigabytes.
Yeah.
And then I got the season pass, which was an conditional 5 gigabytes. It was nearly 100 gigabytes on one game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I have no memory, no space left whatsoever.
And it just happens so quickly. But also, every time they update, it's never just the update part you need. It's nearly the whole fecking game.
Yeah, that is an issue with it. The update is... It's that annoying age that we're in now where you buy a game, you go home, and realistically, you're not playing that game for potentially the first couple of hours.
Yeah,
which
you're
is
not.
frustrating.
You're just installing it.
Unless, I'm lucky. I have a really good internet connection where I am. But I know where you are.
Where I am, I've got awful internet connectivity. What was it? Yesterday, I think I had a 3 gig update to a game, and it took 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, that's how
That's
bad
not
the
fun.
internet is there. And you're just thinking, well, hang on, if they're going to be pumping down 40, 50 gig games, I'm not going to get to play them.
No. Well, again, they've been very vague on it, and it was just this quote that I read the whole interview. It was a really good interview, actually, and I recommend it. It can be found if you just go to Google and type in Phil Spencer Guardian interview. It'll probably take you about 10-15 minutes to read. But the part that stood out to me was that, could we put story-based games into Xbox Game Pass business model because you have a subscription going? It would mean that you wouldn't have to deliver the whole game in 1 month. Again, current age thing where people release games unfinished. And then you go back 6 months later, The Division, for example, you go back 6 months after that, it's the game it should have been at launch. But unfortunately, people who played it early on, I really enjoyed it. I'd sunk a lot of hours into that game. Feel a bit burned because they're like, well, I paid full price for this.
Well, then
and I get
surely
full
the
experience.
question shouldn't be, how should we change our business model so we can get people to pay monthly for unfinished games? It should be, how can we change the industry so people finish their games before they release them?
I'm all over it. If a 10-hour game releases in 5 2-hour episodes, I'm happy with that each month. Because at 10 hours at the moment, I'm struggling to find in a day. But 2 hours I could find easy. 2 hours I can get it done. And I'm quite up for that. I'll be really interested to know what the listeners think. Like, email in, guys. The email is slightly changed to what I said last week, not last month. It's only the second episode.
It was last month as well.
It was last month as well. I
That's
knew
right,
what
isn't
I was doing. So email us in lewis@wookiewoodygaming.com. lewis@wookiewoodygaming.com on your thoughts on the Xbox Game Pass. Is it a good thing for the indie games? Are you going to be subscribing to it? What do you want to see on the Xbox Game Pass? Which moves us on to platforms in general. How do platforms and what platforms support indie games the best? Now, when I say support, what I mean is what platforms offer players the best indie game experience. So if I was to say to you, where you've had your most fun playing indie games?
PC.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, yes, PC is an area that we would love to cover as a website in the next year or so, but it's just resources, and that is I literally looked at the release list this week, and what is coming out
for indie games.
What is coming out between the Xbox, the PS4, and the Switch? Times that by 2, then you've got 1 week's releases on the PC.
Yeah.
Personally, if I'm going to cover an area, I want to make sure it's covered effectively, and that's just stretching our resources way too thin. Okay, take PC out of it.
PC's out.
You got Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox, and I put the Vita in there for good measure. Which, if I said to you, have you had your favourite or best indie game experience on to date? What would you say?
Vita.
The Vita.
Easily, it's the PlayStation Vita. It had the best support for indie games out of any of them for ages. It's gone down now. It's not as strong, but that's because PlayStation 4 is doing such a great job.
But that's also partly because they went, yeah, we're not going to release any AAA games anymore on the Vita. So all of a sudden they went, shit, we've got to put Sonic on there.
Well, Sony did the same thing they've done for like the PSP as well. Was they brought out this amazing handheld console, which was far better than any other handheld console, and then went, nah, fuck it, we're done now. We can't be asked to support it. We put all our money into that, and then didn't do anything.
There's some great indie games on the Vita. For me, it's more of a JRPG machine. Like I can get on there and get a.
But that's part of the really great thing about the Vita is it's not just limited to what we'd have over here in Europe. You get everything.
What blows my mind about that is how can that console run Persona 4? Persona 4 is a huge. That blows me every time I play that game on that. All right, it doesn't look great, but it's a 100-hour game on the Vita.
What I don't get is why Sony aren't now with the Vita pushing it again
as an indie machine.
Because, as an indie machine, but also how it connects up to your PlayStation 4. You know how you talk about the Switch when
it's flogging a dead horse now, isn't it? They got the Switch now. It is just flogging a dead horse.
No way, not at all. Because the Switch, you plug it into your TV. Your big thing about the Switch was, I can plug it in the TV, and then when the missus comes down, I can take it off and still play it. I can fucking do that with my Vita.
Yeah.
I can play Destiny on my Vita. So, Corin comes down, Corin's my wife, comes down and like, I don't want to watch it.
Fundamental issues that they didn't include on the Vita. Give us fucking shoulder buttons.
Well, you got shoulder buttons.
But as in the back trigger button.
The back trigger buttons, yeah. They could have got rid of the touchpad, which was a gimmick, but then you'd have missed Tearaway, which was fecking brilliant.
I can't get those touchpads to work off,
son. Was awful.
I was playing Silent Hill a little while back. and I couldn't shoot because my touchpad wasn't working. And then I found out my hands were cold. So I had to wait
So
until I was
didn't
inside to play it. I was like, this is fucking stupid. Just give me a trigger button.
If you've ever played Call of Duty on the Vita, there is nothing funnier than trying to stab someone by tapping the back of the touchscreen and it not working. Because there's a point you're like, I'm going to get a fucking knife out and stab this damn thing myself.
So you're going with the Vita at the moment.
The Vita was. If you said the whole time without including PC or the Steam box, which would be a nice little cheat to add in there, it would be the Vita. But I think if we're going to talk about now, as in right now, what are the ones that I'm playing my favourite indie games on and really supports them, and I mean that by advertising them and talking about them, it's got to be PlayStation.
Yeah. No doubt. Like, you go to... So instantly you go to the PlayStation Store. I love the way the PlayStation Store is set out. It's really simple. You go into one menu of games, and then you got another tab down there, digital only games. But don't say indie games, digital only games. Now, mate, there are some bigger published games and bigger developed games in there, but most of them are of the indie genre, indie development. And they pop up on the feature screen. You scroll across, and all boom, straight there, and it makes people go, "Oh, what's this like? Oh, I've never heard this game before." And the price point of $12.99, $13.99, $14.99 is so much more enticing than when you've got Persona 5 sat next to it at $54.99.
Yeah.
So, yeah, PlayStation, I think, and they offer such variety. I went through, for the weekly release video released yesterday actually, which if you want to go, released on Monday if you want to check it out. There was quite a few releases come this week on the consoles. As I was going through it, I couldn't believe. So there was 7 games came to consoles this week. None come to the Switch on this week. And 3 of them come to Xbox. Only one was an Xbox exclusive. And that Xbox exclusive has been on PC for the last 2 years. There was Birthdays of Beginning, PS4 exclusive.
Yeah.
Butcher has been on PC for a while. It's not coming to Xbox though, only coming to PS4. Strafe, the game that you've literally been bumming.
I love that game.
PS4
I've been playing
only.
it for
It's
hours.
not on Xbox, PS4 only. Lethal League is coming to both. Dragon Crystals, a dungeon crawling top-down isometric RPG, coming to PS4 only. And I look at these and I'm like, Jesus, I didn't realise it's... Only when I look into it is it that bad. So then I went back and thought, well, what exclusives have we had? Like, where did it not go wrong, but where did Xbox feel like they don't support the indies? So we go for exclusives. I'm going to come to Switch in a minute.
Yeah.
PS4, we had Journey, Flower. They are that video game company's games. They're just incredible games. Like, absolutely incredible games. But other things like Abzu didn't come to Xbox for about 5 months after its release. So at first it was almost a PS4 exclusive. And that's not that video game company. It's a kind of spiritual successor to that from Giant Squid. Xbox, you had Ori and the Blind Forest and Inside, which was only... Well, it was rumoured to be an Xbox exclusive, and it only released on Xbox at the beginning. And I wonder if Playdead...
Timed exclusive.
All of a sudden went, shit, let's get this on PlayStation because it'll be... And there was no confirmation it was timed exclusive, it wasn't. Next thing you know is it pops up on PlayStation, and I mean, I played it on PlayStation, and if you've not played Inside, fucking go play that game.
Well, I'll tell you something...
And then emailing me in what you think happens at the end, because I have no fucking idea.
I'll tell you something really interesting about, yet again, about the indie game, and something that was... Because when we're recording this, Strafe was released today.
Yeah.
So I got it first thing in the morning. And I got in touch with my little brother as we were trying to sort out the DiceBear.com, which had been in a massive state.
Yeah.
And he had to wait another 5 hours before he could have it. I was playing it,
How come?
and he still had to wait. Because it was launched on PlayStation before PC. Something to do with the timings. But you're still sitting there as an indie game going, hang on, I'm on console before I'm on PC.
PlayStation do... I mean, and you see a lot that... I'm not going to try and get into the development side of it because I know fuck all to do with the development side. But you see a lot, or I hear a lot through other media outlets that developers, they release it on PC because it's very easy to get your game authorised and published and released on PC. And then they wait. The reason it being is because PlayStation and Sony and Microsoft, they have a standard to keep up. You're buying into this console. To get onto the console, they need to kind of go through your game with a fine-tooth comb. There's not buggy. Make sure that the playing experience is going to have a negative effect on what they think about the console. And I get that. That's why console gamers are console gamers, not PC gamers.
Also, that's why we don't get a whole load of the green light shite filling
Yeah.
our consoles.
Well, Xbox have dipped their toes in it because you can get early access games. So Astroneer was
Yeah,
an early
yeah.
access, but then they're not all games that are on early access on PC are early access on Xbox. It's all very confusing.
Well, I think a large part of the problem with them, the development side of it, is that to develop for the PC is very easy.
Yeah.
You know, I could do it.
Well,
it's
most of
that
them,
easy.
that's what most of them aim to release on PC. Or saying that, a lot of them you see now, and they go, "This is built from for consoles ground up with a controller in mind."
They've thought about the controller, but to then take it to either the Xbox or the PlayStation, Xbox have always, and Microsoft for some reason as well, have always made it difficult to do things for their systems.
Yeah.
They seem to like to lock people out and stop you from doing it. It's one of the reasons why I like working on a Mac, is because you don't have all those layers of security blocking you from doing something you want to do.
Exactly the same for me.
And that's what happens with games as well. It seems that you've got all these great developers, all these brilliant indie games coming through, and they're like, well, either I can make it for the PlayStation 4 and not have to deal with so many blocks in the way, which means I can get it out quicker, which means it's cheaper to make, or I can try and get it through the Xbox store, which means all of these hoops I've got to jump through, all of these different little settings and security blocks that are getting in the way of me pumping it out. And I think that's one of the problems and one of the reasons why PlayStation has it better. I do think as well that PlayStation is a little bit more lax with the games they let through than Xbox. I do think Xbox are slightly more fussy. So in that way, pretentious.
That's what it is.
In that way, I think
pretentious.
Microsoft is slightly better than PlayStation
in terms
the
of
fact that
playing, like the gaming experience. They're going to
the gaming experience, whereas PlayStation are more, stick it on.
Yeah.
Stick it, because there is some proper shite in there. It's nowhere near as bad as on PC, but there is still some.
Yeah, there is some shite. I review a couple of games and I'm like, oh, fuck's sake.
How did this get through?
Yeah,
how did this
how
get
is this
through?
on console? Which is going to move me on to Switch. So
This is the interesting one.
The reason I've not said Switch before is because it released 6 weeks ago. It's still new. There are a couple of indie games already on the Switch. You got Tumbleseed, which I've been playing through more and more and more. That game is so addictive. It's a case of going, I'm just going to take it to the toilet with me, and I'll spend 5 minutes. And then the wife going, are you alright in there? Yeah, I've just got the furthest up the mountain. And she's like, is that a euphemism? But no, it's a very seriously addictive game. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's probably, and I'm not going to, it's the hardest game I've ever played.
You let me have a go at
It's
that,
the
and
hardest
I
game
made
I've
it,
ever played.
3 centimetres up the screen?
I mean,
like
I've
3 or
played
4
through
times.
Not all Dark Souls. I played with Bloodborne, and you can't compare it to Bloodborne. Bloodborne's complete. The difference is Bloodborne. I felt like after an hour, I was learning elements to make me better.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, you still get smashed to pieces in that game. And even after playing it for 50 hours, whatever it was, to finish the game, I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was always improving on it. Tumbleseed, I just feel like, am I improving? And it's so cruel sometimes.
Yeah.
So cruel. You get all these little holes you got to dodge, and then all of a sudden these spiders come down and these snakes come try and get you, and you're like, just fuck off. Let me get on the mountain. I've played that game seriously hard. I checked the Switch stats the other day. I've got that 11 hours gameplay on it, and out of 1,000's the highest score you can get. And there's only one person on the whole scoreboard.
Someone's managed to do
one
the
person's
1,000.
done it. I reckon it's a dev. He just cheated.
He cheated.
Right mouse click, move to top them. Yep, done.
Done, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, below that, the highest up is like 600. My record at the moment is 452. And I can't see myself beating that anytime soon. That was like when you used to play Snake on your phone, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, this is a good one!"
Yeah.
And the whole world would zone out. That was like this. I was like, "Oh my god." Everything was going right. The holes were in the right places. There was no animals coming up. Everything was falling in the right place for me. And that was it. That's all I focused on. And I didn't realise I spent 17 minutes on that one run. It felt like I was on it for 5 minutes. I've banged on about Tumbleseed now, but Tumbleseed, it's available on PS4 as well, but it's a game for on the go. It feels really good on Switch. You got Mr. Shifty, which is it's a better idea than it is a delivery of a game. Hotline Miami inspired, sci-fi, Matrix-ish, jump around. You can kind of mini blinks to combat, and then there's lots of puzzle elements to it. It gets really hard later on, but it suffers from pretty critical frame rate issues later on, which really affect the gameplay. I gave it a 6.3. I wanted to give it higher. As an idea, it's a 9 out of 10. Just not quite pulled off properly. Snipper Clips, it's fucking amazing. It's like
That's what we played at Nelson's,
I
isn't
played
it?
with Sarah. She loves it. It's a fucking brilliant puzzle game. I've not done the full 4-player mode yet, but the 2-player mode is seriously fun. And then you got SteamWorld Dig 2, which is a timed exclusive coming up. I've never played SteamWorld Dig. I don't know loads about it. And then you've got Runner 3, which is the next installment in the Runner series. Again, I don't know loads about. It's a kind of endless runner game.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of exclusives, Nintendo, they're not going to have many indie exclusives, I don't think. But in terms of their support for it, I'm really bloody impressed. And they laid down the foundations for their intentions early on. After the Switch released, when they come out of that Nintendo's Direct, they call them, where they had 15 videos playing of different indie games,
Yeah.
but mentioned nearly 70 indie games that will be out before the end of 2017. And it was like, fucking hell, these are coming to Nintendo consoles? Like, really? And do you know what? I think that's the perfect idea. If Ubisoft, Bethesda, all the other big publishers, they don't want to play ball with Nintendo, then fine. Let Nintendo have Smash, let them have Mario, let them have Mario Kart, Zelda, Kirby if he ever wants to come back, Metroid. Let them have their IPs that will sell millions of consoles just having their name to it, and then fill the gaps with indie titles. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and it's worked for me so well. I've played my Switch more than any other console the last month, and that's not to say I've played Zelda or Mario Kart more than anything. I've been playing indie games just as much, but it's just convenient.
Yeah.
It's just on me the whole time, and I'm popping out. I mean, I'm like, I'll get to. So when I played Mr. Shifty, I knew I was on the last level, so I didn't play it on the thing. I thought, okay, I'm going to get home. I'll put it in dock, and I'm going to play it on the big screen.
Yeah.
It was a bit anticlimactic, but I had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Snake Pass is another indie game that is on there, and that's just another great game. And again, these games are available on other consoles, and there's rumours that Nintendo aren't being very kind to the indie devs in terms of monetary situations, what they're offering them for putting their consoles on there. And if that's the case, then that's shit. I don't condone it at all or anything. But what I'm saying at the moment, and I honestly think in a year's time, the Switch will be the place I'll be playing the majority of my indie games. And it's the perfect place because it doesn't need the AAA power output. And indie games that I love, for example, Overcooked is one of my favourite games last year. But we said this last week. Who realistically owns 4 PS4 controllers? That's 240 quid worth of controllers. You can buy a PS4 for that. No one owns 4 controllers. Okay, granted, not many people will own 4 Joy-Cons yet, but everyone has 2. Buy a Switch, you have 2 controllers. And a game like Overcooked is literally your analog stick and a button. Death Squared, we spoke about that last week.
Yeah.
Again, that's going to suit that console down to the ground. NBA Playground is coming out today, actually, and that's not an indie game, but it's still a multiplayer experience which is designed to be control with one stick, press buttons, and it's just perfect. I love getting a Switch out, sliding Joy-Cons out, giving it to someone. I do it at school. The kids, like if I have a kid in detention who's been a douche, afterwards I'm like, do you want to go with Mario Kart? Yeah, let's go with Mario Kart. I honestly think, and I put it here, in a year's time, or at the end of this year, we'll be looking back and we'll be saying, wow, that Nintendo were probably the console of the year for us that had indie games on it. And they got a long way to go to beat PS4, but I'm saying that now.
I've got to say, you're living in a dream world, mate. And whatever you're smoking, you better start sharing.
Switch honeymoon.
This shit, isn't it?
Switch honeymoon.
No, I do think the Switch is great, and I really like the fact that Nintendo are trying to get the indie games. They're showing a different side, and they're trying to... But it's still Nintendo. Nintendo are all about the one thing, and that's Nintendo.
Oh, of course they are. You got to do voice chat. You got to go for a fucking mobile.
And there's a point where
what is that about?
See, there's just lots of stupidity in there. But as an indie dev, why are you going to purposefully push to the Switch
when you're
not going to get the funding?
The only way I can see that would be the case is I think you may get. Again, I don't know anything about
I think
funding,
things like Snake Pass and all of that lot are going to do well because they were going to do well anyway. You know, Snake Pass
if your game
is a great game.
Single-screened multiplayer game that has got a very niche market and it's only, say, you're going to retail it at 8 quid, where's it best going to thrive? Probably on the Switch.
Yeah, but if you're getting a smaller percentage on the Switch than you're getting elsewhere,
yes,
why would you spend the time doing the Switch?
It depends. If a developer went to the Switch and said, look, we're going to come to you exclusive. We're not going to go anywhere else. But we want this. I don't think Nintendo would say no. Honestly, I don't. They haven't got. They've got. So
you've
the
got to
only
remember, this is the company who
Runner
won't
3
let you show anything on YouTube because they slap you with, copyright things. We're talking about a company here who are nuts.
Well, they're Japanese. Nothing against
no,
Japanese people, but they are.
The
just,
worst one
just
for it
Japanese.
is I can't remember his bloody name. The one in Nintendo America. What's his name?
I don't know.
I can't remember his. Oh my god, that's terrible. But no, they're all nuts. I think because they defeated Sega, I think they're still dancing on that whole we won the console wars, but haven't realised that they're now drowning beneath Xbox and PlayStation.
Well, it's their own market,
I
yeah.
do think the Switch is going to be very good for indie games, but I think you are honestly huffing on the crack pipe if you believe we're going to be looking
At the end
back
of the year,
in
what we do at the end of the year is
we'll
we'll make a list of our favourite indie games, and then we look at consoles, and we see tally up which console's got the most of our favourite indie games.
Okay.
That's a fair shout, isn't it?
That's a fair shout. But you've got to say what you preferred playing it on. Because there are going to be some crossovers there. So I'm not having this, look, it came out on Switch.
So you're looking at
sucked dick on Switch.
Visual performances and...
No, playing.
Playing, okay.
It's about playing. Because I always hate it when people rate indie games on their visuals, because that means you haven't
That's what
played
a lot of people said, it's a lot like Snake Pass is so much better on PS4 because it looks more vibrant. Fuck off,
what's it better to play on?
I can never...
Because to be honest, I wouldn't play Strafe on a Switch.
When sites do these comparisons of this is what it looks like in 4K, this is what it looks in 10, I can't tell the fucking difference. No, maybe it's because... And also, what they don't realise is that they're doing this, showing this. 90% of people, I reckon, look at their stuff on their phone. Your phone's not a fucking 4K screen.
That's
so
my
what's the
favourite
point
bit about
of looking at a video that compares, oh my god, look how good it looks in 4K. No, you're not watching 4K. You're just watching it, saying 4K, on a HD screen.
There's loads of great videos on YouTube where they do this whole sort of side by side, and it's like, oh look, here's 1080p and here's 4K, but you're watching it at 720.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't
that's
see
what.
nothing.
Well, that's what PlayStation
Genius.
fucked over on their PlayStation Pro stream, because they couldn't show it off because they streamed it live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Fine, but you're showing off a 4K gaming console to a 720p audience who are looking at it going, it doesn't look any different.
And
of course it doesn't look different. You're watching on a fucking 720p.
They're all there going, oh, look how gorgeous it is. And you're there going...
It looks the same, mate.
Looks the same. No, I'm all right.
It's exactly the same. Yeah. So we had a bit of feedback. Well, feedback. We had feedback. We had a question from Matt.
Okay.
Funny enough, I know Matt.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's
They come
all
through Twitter. I've not actually seen Matt for ages. Matt's from Leighton Buzzard. Matt, if you're listening, what up, Matt? Peace out.
Because Leighton Buzzard massive.
Leighton Buzzard is.
I remember.
I
was in Milton Keynes. I remember Leighton Buzzard.
Yeah, the boys. You don't mess with the Leighton boys. In case you hadn't guessed, it's where I'm originally from. LB till I die. Okay.
If you know Leighton Buzzard, you know how inappropriate that whole thing is.
So Matt wants to know what is our favourite indie game of last year. I wrote a couple down. You always want to be in this. So while I'm reading this out, if you want to quickly jog your mind and think about it.
Think of one from 2016. That would be
2016.
Quite nice. Yeah.
So top of my head, I come up with Inside, Firewatch, Oxenfree, Stardew Valley, Darkest Dungeon, Abzu. I think that's it for ones that stood out for me. They're ones that, I mean, 3 of those were in my games of the year. Firewatch, Stardew Valley, and Inside were, I would have thought, for game of the year over
you're not
AAA
saying
games.
Oxenfree in there.
So I really liked Oxenfree. But
That is the one I remember you going on and on about.
Yeah,
Apart from like Stardew Valley. And...
Oxenfree is amazing. It is a very good game, but there's just I preferred it more as an experience than a game, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So yeah. What about you?
Well, okay. Mine, I haven't actually played on console. I played it on the PC.
Okay.
But I know now from having a quick check that it's the Turing test, which was just. It was brilliant.
First person puzzle.
Yeah, that's it. It's a first person puzzle.
Yeah, for first person. Yes, I've done a feature on that a while ago. Actually, it looked really interesting.
It was brilliant.
Again,
I loved it.
Being mostly a one person now. Actually, just employed someone new. 2-person publication, and then you have that when you can. You have to be selective in what you can do, and unfortunately I didn't cover that. But yeah, no, it did look really good, but you played it on PC.
I played that on PC. I haven't played it on Xbox,
Okay.
so I'm not saying if it's any good on Xbox.
Okay,
But
so
on PC it was brilliant, and I loved it, and it was one of those games that you keep thinking about and keep remembering. When you play lots of games, there are lots that just end up as a sort of, well, that was the shooter, that
Yeah.
was the... This is one you
Massively.
keep thinking about and remembering. Actually, another one which isn't out, but I always think about as well, is the one by Fairy Tail Dragons, which was M, which is one of those games that...
We demoed it at EGX, didn't we, last year, and it's really fucking hard puzzler.
It was more the atmosphere it created.
Yes, atmospheric.
I thought it was
puzzle,
really clever.
Dark game. We can't go in. The developers did let us know where the premise of the story went, but we were asked not to share
We're not going to share any of that. But still, it was that type of game. It's the game that you can always sit there and go, oh, I remember that. There's only a couple of those that you end the year with where you can turn back and go, oh my god, I remember this point. And, the Turing test was one of those points where I was like...
Mine has to be, and it is... All the games I said deserve an honourable mention. A lot of people said Inside. Mate, for me, Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was incredible. And do you know what's even best?
You're still playing it?
It's coming to the Switch in August. Oh my god, that... On the go, Stardew Valley. Yes!
You're supposed to be reviewing games, man. What are you going to do once you've got Stardew Valley on the Switch? Because you won't stop playing.
I'm done.
Is that when you're going to retire the website? That's it. Every week,
game.
We'll just change this from Indie Credible Podcast to the Stardew Valley Podcast.
I remember
when we talk about what you've done.
When I was reviewing that game, Sarah was like, "Why, whenever I see you, are you just chopping down trees in this game?" I was like, "It's just part of what you do." She was like, "So what's the idea of the game?" I'm like, "You're a farmer. You got to build relationships and all that." She was like, "Is that it?" Yep. Oh yeah. But such a good game. Such a good game.
I still can't believe you like that, but can't stand Minecraft.
Oh, fuck off with Minecraft. Jesus Christ. Do you know what, actually? A kid at my school said I should do a charity, 24-hour charity stream of
Minecraft. You and Minecraft.
I said,
I would watch that.
I said, I genuinely, I don't know what I do. I'm not going to say what I do on the podcast. It's too inappropriate. Fucking Minecraft. Just 120 million players. Fuck off.
Yeah, 120.
Pokemon Go got 640. Beat that, you little fucking Minecraft.
They don't anymore, though, do they? Whereas Minecraft still does.
Oh, shut up. So that wraps it up for this week of the Indie Credible podcast. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at Wookie Woody Gaming. You can check out the website, WookieWoodyGaming.com. You can check us out on Patreon if you're feeling flush and want to throw us some money. Patreon.com/Wookie Woody Gaming. And Dan, where can listeners find you?
You get all the players in the same place. That's the dicebear.com. That's where all the players are.
Cool. Yeah, you can find me at Wookie Woody, and the Woodies got zeros rather than O's. Finally got it right this time. If you do support us on Patreon, guys, we have a monthly giveaway. This month we're giving away Slugcat. No, we're giving away Rain World, which features a Slugcat. So Rain World features Slugcat. We're giving that away as a digital code at the end of the month. Any Patreon supporters will be thrown straight into that. If you're the only Patreon supporter, guess what? You've paid $1 and you got a game. So
nice. Jump
in that now. Last thing is, next week we're going to be sharing some big news with you at the end of the show. Not a new direction that the site's going into, but I suppose a new adventure, really. Something new with the site and to help bring you a bigger and better experience.
Is it another chapter that if you pay £10 a month, you might be able to experience all of them without finishing the complete game first?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's it.
Spencer will love that one.
Spencer will love that one. So until next week, guys, adios.
Amigos.
That's definitely saying it.